Okay, so we shall begin a small class on the Canterbury Tales. The Canterbury Tales is written by Geoffrey Chaucer. His dates are circa, that's approximately 1340s to 1400s, and he's called the father of English literature. He's mostly writing in the Middle Ages, and he's believed to be the greatest English poet of the Middle Ages. So his main works include, and you can Google them, Troilus and Cressida, House of Fame, and Parliament of Fowls. But his most famous work is, of course, the Canterbury Tales. Now, what is the Canterbury Tales? The Canterbury Tales is a collection of 24 stories that runs to 17,000 lines and was written between 1387 to 1400 CE, Common Era. The Canterbury Tales uses the trope of pilgrimage. Okay, a group of pilgrims are traveling together from the city of London to the site of Canterbury to visit the shrine of Sir Thomas Becket at Canterbury Cathedral. So it is using the trope of pilgrimage, and there are various pilgrims who are traveling together from London to Canterbury to visit the shrine of, as I said, Sir Thomas Becket at Canterbury Cathedral. And there is a storytelling contest. There is a character called the host. He's believed to be a portrait of Chaucer himself, and he's holding a storytelling contest. So each pilgrim will tell a story. They will tell two stories while en route, that is while going to Canterbury, and two stories on the way back from Canterbury. So that's 4 stories per person. And Chaucer, or the host, introduces us to a group of characters who are going on this pilgrimage, and each of them are supposed to tell a story. Okay, so there's a storytelling contest, and the prize is a free meal at the Tabard Inn at Southwark on their return. So it is Chaucer's Canterbury Tales is an ironic and critical portrait of the English society of the time, particularly of the church. Chaucer is actually writing a sort of satire. It is written in the form of a pilgrimage, but it is like a satire. And Chaucer is also bringing in a wide range of classes. So when you are introduced to the pilgrims, to the various characters in this sort of verse, it's mostly written in verse, a bit in prose, you are introduced to a different set of people, and each of them represent a certain class of society. So Chaucer is trying to give you a picture of English society in its various classes as it existed at that point of time, and he's also offering a critical portrait of English society. Particularly, he's deeply critical of the institution of the church. Okay. So you see the customs and practices of the time, and Chaucer's use of this wide range of classes, this was unprecedented in English. This was never attempted before in English language. You also see that the pilgrims themselves are more concerned with worldly pleasures than with any spiritual quest. Another thing to remember, this is of course a background lecture, another thing to remember is that the tales are incomplete. They have not been complete. They survive in fragments, but not all the tales can be found. Okay. The general prologue, which is part of your syllabus, introduces us to 30 pilgrims. Okay, there are 30 pilgrims, and I will just give you a list of the main characters in the general prologue. You have in your syllabus the general prologue and the wife of Bath's prologue and tale. So general prologue introduces us to 30 pilgrims, and you have 84 surviving manuscripts. Okay, another thing to remember is that none of these manuscripts, of the 84 surviving manuscripts, none of them is written in Chaucer's own hand. 2 of them are copied around the time of his death by a person called Adam Pinkhurst. The general prologue, there are various fragments. I told you they survive, these tales, because they belong to Middle English literature. They survive in various fragments, and your general prologue belongs to fragment 1, and your wife of Bath's tale and prologue, which is also part of your syllabus, belongs to fragment 3. Now, a bit of introduction about the general prologue. The general prologue comprises 858 lines. Okay. The narrator, I have already mentioned, the narrator is the host. His name is Harry Bailey. Okay. Harry Bailey, he's the host. He's also the narrator of the Canterbury Tales, and he's believed to be a portrait of Chaucer himself. So the narrator, he is already situated in the tabard inn at Southwark, and he meets a group of sundry folk. Within quotes, sundry folk means different kinds of people. The time is April. The prologue begins in April, and the prologue begins by singing the praises of this month of April. April is believed to be the month of rains and the month of fertility. So the prologue begins with a sort of ode to the month of rains and the month of fertility, that is the month of April. The prologue is for the large part mainly a description of the various pilgrims, of the various characters, their condition, their array, their attire, and their social degree or their social rank. The pilgrims comprise, and these characters will become important, a knight, his son a squire, the knight's yeoman, a prioress, accompanied by a second nun and the nun's priest, a monk, a friar, a merchant, a clerk, a sergeant of law, a franklin, a haberdasher, a carpenter, a weaver, a cook, a shipman, a doctor of physic, a wife of Bath, a parson, his brother, the ploughman, a miller, a manciple, a reeve, a pardoner, and the host. The host, as I've told you, is the main narrator, and his name is Harry Bailey. Do not forget this name. He is believed to be a portrait of Chaucer himself. The host is proposing that each of these characters, the characters that I have named, each of them will tell two stories. Two while they're going from London to Canterbury, and two on their way back. And the best story will be awarded a prize. What is the prize? A free meal at the Tabard Inn at Southwark. Okay, Southwark. And the host is the governor, the judge, and the record keeper. So he is the judge of who is going to tell the best story. So it begins by they begin by drawing lotteries. Who is going to go first? They begin by drawing lotteries. And the knight, he gets the chance to tell the first tale. So the first tale you have in the series after the general prologue, which you do not have in your syllabus, but it comes after the general prologue. It's the knight's tale, okay? The knight's prologue and tale. You have the general prologue and you have the wife of Bath's tale. So that's so much for an introduction to Geoffrey Chaucer and the Canterbury Tales. Tomorrow I'll be giving you some more. Tomorrow, day after, I'll be taking I'll be recording another small clip, and I'll be giving you some more information about the general prologue of the Canterbury Tales. Okay, have a good day, all of you.